Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, welcome to the Beacon TVL show. I'm your host, Chris. Got some people coming on in stages today on the show. So I just wanted to start off and wanted to point out a couple of things before we get started. First of all, we'll take a quick look at the markets. Looking at CoinGecko, we're seeing some interesting moves back up. BTC obviously dumped quite a bit. We'll talk about a little bit of that in a little bit. But we're starting to see some movement back up. We're seeing Bitcoin reclaim 57, ETH moving back up that way. Solana also back on an uptrend, back above 140. So we're looking at some interesting movement here, and hopefully a good setup for the rest of what's going on. But obviously things will be tempered based on what happens with the, I guess with the Germans. Let's call it the German invasion of crypto. What I did want to do real quick as a hello to our communities. Of course, I want to say hello to our Beacon Mastermind members, both our current and our founding members. Thanks for everything you do to make everything with this show possible. And join our free group, TVL, school.com/beacon. Let me get the banner up here across the bottom so you can check it out. Join the hundreds of others who joined us. We launched in late February. We're already up to over 700 members. We're almost there, which means we're on the way to 1,000. And we're definitely thinking of what to do for a milestone once we get to 1,000 users. So please, if you have an idea, if you have a thought, what should we do as part of the 1,000 members of TVL? Put it in the comments. But yeah, really excited about that. Thanks to everybody with your support. Great community so far. Just awesome experience. Just doing our best to make DeFi accessible, and you too can become a Zero to Pro just by joining our free group. Total value locked. Beacon.com. School.com/beacon. Check it out here at the bottom. And thank you very much. Appreciate that. You're a big part of the reason why we're doing so well in this spot. So let's go ahead and head back to the news. I did want to start with this one. I thought this was interesting. Coinbase Ventures invests in Ampleforth's flatcoin technology called Spot. It has launched on Base. I haven't looked at the project yet, but what exactly is a flatcoin? So a flatcoin, best way to describe it is it's a stable coin alternative, right? Because the one thing about stable coins, let's look at the stable coins we have here, as you can see with USDC and Tether. Look at that lovely chart. It's for the most part flat. That's pretty much what flat coins do as well, is that they are trying to have a value that is as flat as possible when it comes to their chart and their pegged value. In this case, Spot is going to not necessarily be pegged to the US dollar, but they're going to be pegged to, looks like the cost of living, the US cost of living is what Ampleforth is going after. And it'll be a rebasing currency, no specific asset backing, which is interesting, and using elastic supply to stabilize its price. And hopefully this is an optimized thing to keep it around a specific price. Yeah. So I think this is interesting. Obviously, the idea of having a coin with no backing can be a little scary, but at the same time, if it is something that you can use to create constant value that you can then, at least from our standpoint, then farm for incentives or some type of yield for providing liquidity in such a coin, that's good. A good example of that's not really a good example of this, but related to this that I didn't put in the agenda, PYUSD. We talked about PayPal coming to Solana. They're up over, I think, a large number, thanks to their exposure on Solana. So if you're looking for a little bit of alpha, the PYUSD USDC pool on Camino is at 20% right now. So if you're looking for a stablecoin LP, there you go. So yeah, The idea of a flat coin, very interesting. And with that, I'm gonna slide our guest in here because I think I'm just curious to know if he's heard of this and what his thoughts are on this. And today that's gonna be Paul. Paul, good to see you, brother.
Oh, hey, how are you?
Do
Good
you
to
need
see
another
you
minute?
too.
Do you need another minute to kind of get ramped up, or because I'm just talking about flat coins here? I don't know if you've heard of a flat coin, but um,
I
it's
have.
oh
I
good.
don't know exactly how they work though, and
Hmm.
I haven't looked into any like yield farming or anything like that yet with them.
Yeah, this one's from Ampleforth. It's launched on Base. It's called
Uh-huh.
Spot, and the backing, or rather, the value of Spot is going to be based on the I'm assuming the United States cost of living price index.
Mm,
I believe is where it's at. So it could be an asset. It could be I'm sorry, a basket of assets that help determine that price. So it could be multiple indicators with flat coins as well. So interesting new primitive. I'm curious to see, if it gains some traction. Would not be shocked to possibly see an aerodrome pool with
right.
this in USDC kind of going. And yeah, so flat coins where the idea is to have fairly flat optimized charts that keep it with flat in a specific value range. I think is an interesting idea because you can have stable coins that have issues with their pegged value, but if you have a pegged range,
Uh-huh.
I think that could be interesting. That could be interesting. So maybe a sign of what's to come. So if you have money on Base, if you're looking to check out a new project, consider Ampleforth's Spot project. Now, I'm sure many of you have the Ampleforth token if you're a Coinbase customer because it's one of the first ones you can get taking the little quizzes to earn. Like I think I have like Ampleforth, Stellar Lumens, and the Graph, and I've had them forever. They haven't done much for me, but it kind of is what it is. But we'll go ahead and move on to something that is actually moving, and that is BlackRock's BUIDL fund. So this is their tokenized RWA fund. They hit a huge milestone by hitting 500 million market cap. So this is interesting because this is used by Ondo. This is used by Mountain Protocol, USDM, another RWA stablecoin that is out there. Big news for them. BlackRock's a big deal, right? It's not like we're talking about a decentralized anon team that's hit 500 million of market cap. We're talking about BlackRock, one of the largest entities in fintech in the world. So this is pretty big news. Obviously, I don't think I have to tell anybody here that RWA is working and is here to stay. But I'm looking to see what additional projects will you consider to use this moving forward. So, Paul, I know you're not surprised by this news, but are you pretty bullish on RWAs overall?
Yeah. So we're seeing a lot actually of proof of concept for off-chain trustless systems, like
Yeah.
off-chain data, and so it's getting more and more feasible. And then, from a real yield narrative standpoint, where a product or service becomes tokenized, or a project actually has to have a legitimate product or service to launch. We're seeing much more legitimate protocols and founders, and so absolutely real world assets and real world services, I would say, are both. We're going to see a lot more of it. Mm-hmm.
I agree. Yeah, and I do think I'm waiting for more commodities to come on board. Obviously, T-bills are T-bills, right? I'd like to see more interesting commodities other than U.S. debt come online with regards to stablecoin backing. But we'll see what happens. But RWAs are going to be a huge narrative. Another huge narrative that I wanted to bring up specifically is TON. This is something that I've been bullish on for quite some time now. And this is fresh out of ETHCC in Belgium. TON, which is the open network from Telegram, they now have they're announcing a layer 2, man, built on top of Polygon CDK, which means this is going to have ZK EVM rollup technology built in from Polygon, as well as the AG layer built in. So this is interesting for a couple of reasons. And first of all, it's not Telegram specifically behind the chain. It's an independent group of developers affiliated with the community. And they're calling it TAC, which is the TON app chain. TON applications chain. Yeah. It's like I mentioned, it's going to be built on top of Polygon CDK. It'll be a layer 2 on top of TON. TON chain is a layer 1 that is out there. That's mainly just used by Telegram mini apps. So stuff we talked about in the last couple of weeks, like the Open League, the Tap Center, stuff like that. They've amassed a huge following. I'm not going to lie. I play Hamster Combat every day. They have 30 million followers on YouTube because of the gamification of earning coins. And I'm like, is that all that Beacon has to do to get 30 million followers? Create a Telegram mini clicker?
That's wild.
Let's do it. Let's do it. You and me, Paul. Let's go make a game where all you do is take a picture of my face or Andrew's face and you just tap on it to earn coins.
Yeah, the more people that hate us, the harder they'll tap, you know.
I know.
Yeah,
you know what? Do it for Project Ralph. There you go. Get Ralph's face on it. You can do that. There you go. There you go.
Thank you.
You can have that one for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so this is big news mainly for people who are not currently in TON. There are independent wallets you can download if you want to get on the open network in Telegram. The issue is you can actually integrate with all of these mini apps on Telegram, but as a US citizen, and if you KYC'd, meaning you went into Telegram and put in a US phone number, you are automatically not able to access your coins. You would need to have an outside wallet, right? Something interesting like that to be able to access your coins. And there are ways to do that. Which I won't talk about here, but having the CDK here, the CDK chain with TAC is actually going to be huge for Telegram, because now you have another way to interact with dApps from within, right? There's going to be a bridge going back and forth between Telegram and all of these apps that are probably going to flock to this TAC chain pretty quickly, right? So you'll have Uniswap available. I don't think we see Aave, but there will be all kinds of things that will be forked and moved over. Plus, they have the AG layer. And for those who are not aware of what the AG layer is, it is a Polygon initiative where anybody who is on top of their CDK, their chain development kit, can have all interoperability between all of the apps, regardless of what blockchain they're on. They're just one united liquidity layer. So it's going to be huge, right, for all of the members. And we're talking not only Telegram. So think about the members in here. So we have TON, they're coming in. We have all of the whole Polygon, ecosystem. You have Immutable X, you have OKX. Who are some other big ones? There's quite a few other big ones. We just talked about Startail and A-Star last week. A-Star is a Polkadot facing, or they're from the original Polkadot origin story, but Sony has bought into that ecosystem. So now we have a lot of interesting big name players now kind of making CDK relevant. Not that CDK wasn't relevant, but now we have a lot of interesting ideas on how we can get liquidity moving back and forth, specifically in these ecosystems. So yeah, where Telegram had a lot of GameFi, possibly a little bit of liquidity, like if you go to Ston, which is a DEX on the open network, to do some LPs, you can do that now. But now with this movement to TAC, you're going to have GameFi, NFTs, everything and beyond being able to be swapped back and forth and bridged natively, which is kind of crazy. So yeah, fresh off of ETHCC, they've talked about doing this. No idea when this is going to happen, but the fact that they've announced this huge I would say for TAC. And if they make TON the gas token for this chain, it's huge. Time to possibly load up. You have any thoughts on that, Paul?
I I think it could be big. It's all about who is going to want to develop with it, really, in the end. That's really it. We're seeing a lot of we'll probably see a rush. We'll probably see like layer twos rapidly rapidly deploy as we get more and more into adoption. We may see a phase where they're deploying all the time. I think that it's too early to I think a lot of these chains are like the next iteration of what can or should be. So it's done as like a proof of concept that will lead to what everyone will actually want to build on and use. I don't really see them as, long lasting or permanent.
Yeah.
You can say that. So I think they're good. It's a good iteration, of use. I think that also, the things like, not that they couldn't undo it, but the whole thing where, well, if we know that you're American, we're not going to allow access type of thing. I think that what that leads to is, because we were talking about this on another topic. What was it?
About U.S. access?
Yeah, U.S. access, but just being inclusive in general. So, like,
sure,
if people want to say, or project or companies, they want to say, well, okay, well, only so and so can use this, or we're going to restrict so and so. That leaves room for the rest of the community. DeFi as a whole, or crypto as a whole, to say, well, we're just not going to use your project at all because you represent that, right? So we can step more and more into our own power. So I really don't like seeing things like that, but I understand why they have them. So, but I think ultimately, because everything is so accessible now anyway, and there's so many choices, it's very easy for me as a developer or consumer to see something like that and immediately just discard it and say, I'm not going to interact with this. I'm not going to build with this. It's a couple second decision because I was turned off by something that was said, and I'll never look at it again, and I'll move on to something else very, very quickly. So, like that's kind of like why I say a lot of these will be iterations that lead to ultimately what people build on and use. I don't think they really have any worthwhile investment outside of aggregating yield, temporarily while it trends,
right.
know. So that's kind of how I look at it,
Yeah, I'm excited to see ElkNet move to to getting onto here.
yeah, we got like 38 chains.
Yeah, and you are on Rootstock now too, so that's interesting.
Mm-hmm. Rootstock launched. Eventually, that's a thing that people will understand too, is something like infrastructure interoperability. When we aim to have it self-integratable, so at some point, anyone that wants to see a chain be added can just add the chain, or take very quick steps to get it added. So
yeah, I look forward specifically with this news to see how quickly it might be available for you guys specifically at ElkNet to do this, because unlocking normie wallets with, tens of millions of TVL, always a recipe for success in some manner. But yeah, I think you're right. I mean, these are all iterations. These are all experimental things. But I do think that Ton's done the right thing, at least from a Telegram standpoint, to make this work. So I'm curious to see. Yeah, it's good news for sure.
Yeah, one of the things that Ton did well, because I was talking with the developer at East Denver when we were out there, and they purposely made it easy to build the interactive games, on top of Telegram.
Right.
So that's, clearly with even the hamster game and all that, like clearly that worked. Whereas when you're doing like on-chain quests with Base and you have a poor user experience or interface, it's just not ideal and people don't want to participate. Again, it goes back to ease of use and having so many options. Like if I read something or I begin to interact with something that annoys me very quickly, I can just assume not do it and just find something else very quickly to engage with. And that, the testament of the hamster game is look how many people play it, look how viral it is. If it had a poor user experience where you had to work through your wallets and type in your passcodes and like do all these extra steps while you're playing the game, then, maybe people wouldn't want to play it so much. I don't know.
No, that's true. That's true. Well, speaking of things that could be a good user experience, today Optimism Superfest is live. I was thinking they were going to wait till after ETHCC, but they are live. They're going. So, if you enter in and check out and all this is just an Odyssey quest, right? If you look at the lineup, they have multiple protocols where they want you to check out and do different quests across 4 blockchains. That's going to be OP, Optimism Mainnet, Base, Fraxtal, and Mode, all Superchain members. And they're using Jumper from Across as the and Lie.fi as the front end jumping off point. So you have all of these missions that you can do to earn points, not points, but coins, and it's all there to split 1.5 million OP tokens. This lasts all the way until the end of August. So if you're curious about getting into really just looking for advanced yields, there's a lot of, especially on Beefy right now, the CLMs are huge with regards to juiced yields. And just checking out a lot of new protocols that you may not have done before. That's what these events are really good for. Like for me personally, I'd like to look more into Contango as well as both Gearbox, Lyra, and Morpho, which have all released onto Base. But I also want to check out Fraxtal. I've not been to Fraxtal, so I'm going to check out Raw, which I believe, based on the Egyptian theme here, is with Ramses, the group that does Ramses on Arbitrum, which means they also do Cleopatra on Mantle, Nile on Linea, and Nuri on Scroll. So I believe Raw is the Fraxtal version of that. So that makes sense to me. But yeah, a lot of different blockchains to check out as well as protocols. So check out Superfest. It's going all the way to the end of August. You can get in here, do some LPs, earn points, and earn OP tokens. So yeah, with that said, from an alpha standpoint, possibly an OP ETH CLM or concentrated liquidity pool might be something you can do to play off the behavior of things of people getting into here. So yeah, check out Superfest. But I'll go ahead and segue back to another protocol, Paul, that is having an interesting move, and that is the stablecoin we like to call Cardano.
Mm-hmm.
The poor stablecoin hasn't done a good job of keeping it $1 of ADA, but that's a joke. For all of you ADA holders, don't come at me. It's just lighthearted fun. Talk about a chain that it didn't decide to go with making things easy to develop on. That is Cardano, but they are having their Chang hard fork, possibly as early as next week. What they need to have in order for it to work out to fully decentralize the nodes and the ownership, the node operators and validators, is they need 70% node density. So that's what they're looking to achieve. Hopefully the community can come together. We have enough people in the community that will help move it to this new proof of stake architecture, because currently it's a proof of work blockchain. And yeah, you know, Charles Hoskinson has never been one to mince words. I do think this is going to be a huge move for them. And while I personally have not done a whole lot with ADA, I mean, I have checked out some of their EVM facing chains in the past, like Andromeda. Yeah, Andromeda was the EVM chain, and stuff like Sunday Swap and things like that out there, Milk Swap. Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting step in the journey for Cardano, specifically for the purpose that there are a lot of people, at least in our communities, that have held ADA for a long time based off of the personality of Charles Hoskinson. And you know, it's all a matter of if you can actually put that ADA to work. I think that would probably be a very happy thing for people who own a way to start making ADA work for them as opposed to holding its spot. So, Paul, are you an ADA holder at all?
I'm not, no. But I was an early holder. I bought probably around a penny to 3 cents, and I think
Bullish.
I sold it at like 6 cents or 9 cents, and I thought I did just fantastic, right? And
exactly, that's a 3x, brother.
yeah, and then it proceeded to run to like $1.30.
Oh yes.
So then I went on my list of 100 screw ups where I would have had $1 million at the end of it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think it's performed well as an asset. You know, a lot of trade volume. It had wonderful macro cycles. It's an excellent coin to trade, certainly.
So yeah, hopefully for some of our group that owns Zeta, Susan being one of them, you know, it's time to hopefully put some ADA to work. I mean, I will never understand why they made the decisions they did for architecture. First, like for their smart contract language, they're using Haskell as the main language, and I hope that changes. Please do something different. Anyway, they've taken the road less traveled. Let's put it that way, and I hope it works out for them. So, just kind of wanted to kind of glaze the German government for a minute. So, as you know, we've had some movement here with the Bitcoins, where there was just a huge liquidation cascade, and a lot of people got liquidated. If you're curious, and this will be in the show notes, again, feel free to get access to the show notes. Please join our free group at school.com/beacon. Arkham Intel has a dashboard tracking the German government wallet or wallets. And what's interesting is they are still buying Bitcoin. But I was doing some digging and I found out something interesting. And I don't know how true this is, but at the same time, it could be. So there are states in Germany, and the way that Germany, let's just keep them as a whole as Germany, how they came into all of this Bitcoin, then I think it's 2.2 billion Bitcoin, is that there was a website called movie2k.2 that was, you know, found guilty of money laundering and all that type of stuff. Well, it happened in the German state of Saxony, and based on whatever rules that they have going on, I guess the jurisdiction for this money fell upon the state of Saxony. Now, working with the with their criminal police office, because of it being money laundering funds that they now hold, much like what happened when the housing crash happened and banks owned a ton of real estate properties, these REO properties, they're not going to hold them. So the idea is that they decided that they wanted to just start selling it because it's money on the books from illegal activities that they're not going to keep. The unfortunate part is that this is Bitcoin. So selling $3 billion worth of Bitcoin, apparently exchanges were not willing to actually take the transactions for some of these on multiple occasions because they were trying to sell too much Bitcoin. I know. I'm just like, this is going to be a Netflix movie I'm going to love to watch because this is crazy. Yeah, I mean, obviously, people are going to have their takes. Multiple people have had their takes on this, but this is standard procedure. Whenever, and I'm sure this is not normal to just Saxony. I'm sure in any jurisdiction, if you happen to come across confiscated assets outside of maybe holding an auction of some sort, they're just going to get rid of them. So what do you do when it's $3 billion in Bitcoin? But yeah, this is where we're at on this. And Germany, as in the country of Germany, has been buying back some of this because I think they realize the optics of this. And I would like to think, at least in parts of Germany, that there are officials that understand the value of, because they've had a CBDC pilot. They know the value of Bitcoin and clearly don't want to tank the market because of some state within their jurisdiction's policies on stuff like this. I don't know, Paul. You can't make this stuff up.
No, crazy. It's wild.
Wild, right? And you're like, well, why are they dumping? Well, because the law says that they have to. And I mean, put that in. It's not on the agenda. Justin Sun from Tron offered to OTC the rest of the balance. They didn't take him up on it clearly, but yeah.
Maybe they're not allowed because then the optics are, well, the law's there, and then we choose who we OTC to,
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just like, I mean, it's provided an amazing entry to a lot of people looking to DCA into their orange coin. So,
right. Yeah, it's interesting times when you look at the macro cycle pre-halving into halving. We had altcoins all-time high. BTC went again for all-time high, and then a lot of alts decorrelated and gave way to like $100 billion meme escapade in DeFi. With BTC in particular, what's interesting is that even like with Mount Gox, I think it's becoming known. You can hedge against. Well, what it does is it makes a case, an exercisable case that is permissionless to access capital and unlock the value of what you own, similar to an Elon Musk or a Bezos, where you can continue to just take debt out against your loan, create no tax, or take debt out against your assets, create no taxable events, and just perpetually gain while holding the asset. So with BTC, what governments and institutions are realizing is that, even in a situation, it almost self-insures, like Mt. Gox, where,
Right.
Sure. So they had all these assets, and they realized it too with FTX. So sure, they have all these assets. Everything just went bankrupt, but the assets are at an all-time low. The market's just cascaded, and then they can pay everyone back plus have some if they simply just sit on those assets until a time when they can, exercise giving them back to people. So I think that's what, the governments are understanding. And in this situation, they may be understanding that they're making a bad decision and then trying to offset that decision. So
Yeah, and I think you hit it on the head. You can't really pick and choose this kind of stuff, right? Because of what the asset is. I mean, if they were just to have held it, I mean, I guess it'd be, I mean, could you put it in the same sentence as like, yeah, we got this money due to arms sales or something like that? You can, it's just like, you can't, they have to have a procedure for this. It's unfortunate that it's BTC and not like,
right.
I don't know, Cardano. So it's just like, it's just one of those things. You're just like, well, it just happens to be the bellwether asset that controls the entire crypto market. Where we'll prepare for mate. Yeah, and it's interesting is I don't know if everybody even knows the story. I think that's probably the other part that's a bit crazy, because if everybody knew the story, do you think there would have been as many people cascading out or at least selling? I don't know. It's
maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of forced selling during this crash. So, or let's not call it crash, during this period. So,
yeah,
but yeah. So wild story. If this is true, I'm assuming it is. But yeah, I mean, it's like they have no choice because by law, they're just confiscating assets after a specific time period. So, it is what it is, I suppose. It is what it is. So yeah, if you want to track where this wallet's going, you can check out the Arkham Intelligence one that they have. It's always interesting when they can track an entire country. So
it's wonderful.
This is not something I thought I'd see, isn't it though?
Yeah.
Hey, so Germany.
Well, these are all test cases for proof of concept, to have a trustless, verifiable government. We can enforce policy that mandates that these types of things are all on chain. So these are the things people will get hip to.
I think so.
And,
so we'll go and move on to the next topic. And again, before we do that, if we do that, everybody's watching, you please like the stream, help us out in the algorithm. Again, thanks to Paul Fiatz-Judas from Elknet and Project Ralph for being here on the panel with me today. Really interesting things we're seeing this week. This is normally during a time where it's fairly quiet in crypto. June, July is normally pretty quiet. Of course, have a lot to do with it, but also the meme coin meta has kind of shifted, and then the Mt. Gox stuff along with this has really just turned the market on its head.
Right.
And has really exposed a lot of things that I think will be interesting moving forward. Another thing that's interesting moving forward is the U.S. Senate talking to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin to look into blockchain technology for supply chain management for national security functions. Obviously, they want to make parts. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say that the Boeing thing has anything to do with this, but it could. It could be just, showing the whole thing about $600 gold toilets and things like that too. But they would. They're not going to be the only institution that uses blockchain for supply chain. Amazon, Walmart, a couple huge multinational big box chains and just entities are using blockchain for supply and logistics. So the interesting part about this and why they're looking at blockchain, and this is from the Senate, not the House, is that they can have cryptographic integrity of the data accuracy, and manipulating the risk of manipulation and corruption by competitors. I think that's very astute observations of this, and I think is very interesting. What's also interesting is, they're looking, one thing that they identified as reasons to do this is specifically for the ability to easily audit procurement here. So I think holding government accountable for everything to be very interesting. We'll have Paul back in just a minute. But yeah, putting this together with some of the new things that have popped up, obviously crypto being a major election issue, Mount Gox and the government taking charge of where those payments are going out and how that's being distributed through different wallets. We're going to start seeing blockchain at the highest levels in this country, meaning the United States. And I'm excited to see where this goes, right? Corporations, capitalists, economies have already been touching this for quite some time. To see a sovereign entity as large as the United States with as much influence as the United States looking into this to try and make their services more transparent, more easily auditable, I think will be good. I mean, could you imagine if we were able to have blockchain tech look at things like inflation numbers, labor statistics, if that was all powered by blockchain data, which could be, for the most part, zero knowledge proofed. I don't want to say undisputable, right? Because obviously, things like this help with the spread against the spread of misinformation. These are all good moves. Could they be done in ways to, of course, benefit government? Of course. But at least they're looking into the option. And yeah, as Susan said, nice to see the Senate joining the 21st century. To their credit, so Congress has a very large blockchain caucus. If you are not aware of it, let me look it up real quick. But they do have a very large section of Congress that is made up of elected officials that are supportive of blockchain initiatives. And I'll also put this in the I'll put it in the chat actually, and also put it here in the notes. Granted, they haven't updated this in 4 years, but there is a large group of elected officials who are a part of the Congressional Blockchain Caucus. People that you have heard from, for example, Congressman Tom Emmer, Congressman David Schweikert, and I don't believe that. Well, he's outgoing, so that would be well, I guess the old chair, Patrick McHenry. But people like Warren Davidson from Ohio, Ro Khanna, Matt Gaetz, others that you may know fairly well. Lauren Boebert's in the Congressional Blockchain Caucus. Interesting. In any case, multiple members are here, and they're here to help shape blockchain technology into bills. And yeah, good to see this in here. Good to see there are elected officials who understand blockchain tech, and most likely DeFi. Like we talked about the congressman from Georgia who bought Velo last week, or was that 2 weeks ago? Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. That was great. Velo, with Optimism Superfest going on, that could be a huge buy. So any case, we'll go ahead and move on to something that's actually pretty big news. And that is, well, did I lose that? I must have lost that page. Let me grab that. It's more about the origin story of Fantom Sonic, right? We've talked quite a bit about Fantom, mainly because of bad things, but then we've also talked about good things with them moving to a new blockchain called Fantom Sonic, which is supposed to be one of the faster blockchains, coming to DeFi. Mega ETH, as we talked about last week with Mega ETH, about 10,000 TPS, but they're calling real-time Ethereum. The Vitalik is backing, obviously, Trump's Fantom Sonic. Fantom Sonic was looking at possibly 2,000 to 5,000 TPS, which is just limited. Same thing with Mega ETH; it's limited by hardware at this point. Just know that it's going to be fast. But a reason why Fantom really just went by the wayside is because a lot of their canonical treasury assets, in some cases, were stored on multichain, which is an interoperability protocol that unfortunately, saw its end after just a really crazy story that will probably be made into some type of movie, I'm thinking at some point, where the chairman of multichain was arrested in mainland China for something, and he had the keys to the entire operation, the bridge himself. So, yikes! No multi-sig there. Maybe there was. Like I said, it's been some time. But anyway, caused a lot of assets on Fantom to become devalued because they lost their backing. Fantom, I think the overall hack for multi-chain was 210 million, and the court awarded, a Singaporean court awarded them 2.1 million that the Multi-Chain Foundation has to pay to Fantom for losses suffered. Now, this is not going to make any of those assets whole by any stretch of the imagination, but it is something, I suppose. So yeah, that's good for them. This is part of, like I said, the origin story. They're going to get this money coming in. It puts them back in the news. But then we've talked about Fantom Sonic, and they're going to be they're not sunsetting Fantom Opera, which is the current chain that we use. It'll actually get some upgrades. And now they've actually just passed in a governance vote last week about how the airdrop is going to work. So it passed the quorum. It needed 55%. It passed with 65%. The vote actually goes on until I think the end of this week, but they've already passed the majority needed, so they're good to go there. What's interesting about this is that it's going to be, we talked about the S token. And if you have FTM, which is the current Fantom Opera token for the blockchain for gas, you can actually redeem that 1-for-1 for the S token during the first 6 months of Fantom Sonic's genesis. So that part's good, but they are having an airdrop. The airdrop is going to be 190 million tokens, or about 6% of the fully diluted value supply available for the airdrop, for the chain itself. So 190 million is what's going out to people who meet specific criteria. First of all, no U.S. residents. So you're going to have to figure out. I'm sure you'll be able to claim your tokens in some way or another. So with the Fantom Sonic airdrop, as I was saying, Paul, 190 tokens is coming out. They just voted it passed governance, 6% of the FDV supply. The claim on this is the part that's interesting. So 25% you can claim up front during the claim period. After that, this is the Andre Cronje influence here. The other 75% is going to be a gamified burn system, meaning you're going to have to wait 270 days if you want the rest of the claim. Otherwise, you have to forfeit a specific amount over time, right? So to even get half, you're going to have to wait 140 days. It looks like about 135. Yeah, half of 270, right? You're going to have to wait 135 days to get half. Now, if you choose to claim anytime during here before 270 days, the amount that you didn't get because you claimed early is going to be burnt from the total supply. Interesting mechanic, right? So this is all about gamification. Anti-Sybil features are going to be here in this airdrop. The airdrop is not going to happen any sooner than 6 months after the launch of Fantom Sonic, which firmly puts it, based on what we've looked at, midway through 2025. So between April and June, most likely, is when it's going to be happening. Again, no sooner, so it could be longer than that. The eligibility for the airdrop for Fantom Sonic is going to be based on Fantom Opera activity. So we're talking about bridging, LPs, NFTs, any DApp interactions. Also, anyone who was caught up in the multi-chain mix-up with losing assets, that type of thing, you are also going to get a retroactive airdrop based on that. So there's going to be some whales that are about to be probably fairly happy based on this. But that's just half of the eligibility. The other half, because again, they're not going to do it until 6 months after launch, is Fantom Sonic activity. So you have the ability right now to start farming on Fantom at places like Spooky Swap, Spirit Swap, Equalizer, anything from the Byte Masons. Shout out to the Byte Masons. Anything with Elk on Fantom, which I don't know how much presence do you guys have left on Fantom, Paul? Oh, I think Paul's frozen, or maybe I'm frozen.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, technical difficulties here.
No, you're fine.
So yeah, we did at one time, right? Like we work with Spooky Swap, Beethoven, Tomb. We worked with a lot of the protocols that were there early on. But now, Fantom really hasn't done a whole lot on chain. And so this next thing is the Sonic move. I did talk to a point of contact at Fantom, and he told me that I said, are you still working on Fantom, and do you got any alpha? And he said with Sonic, and he said his focus will be on Sonic, once it's launched. So they're gonna push to really probably move Sonic. And it's always interesting, like with the tokenomics, and I think everybody should be cautious, right? Like there's always these speculation gimmicks as exercised, and unfortunately, because even I've been a victim of it in some pretty nasty ways. But that's, there's always that carrot to help stifle liquidation amongst retail while the bigger institutions can liquidate. So
yeah.
Oh, looks like I lost.
Oh, looks like we lost Paul again. But yeah, so with Fantom Sonic, big news for an airdrop. It passed governance. If you want to get involved, I definitely recommend you go ahead and just start farming on Fantom Opera to kind of bring up your profile. And what that means is you definitely want to start interacting with other dApps. So the majors, Beethoven X, Spirit Swap, Beethoven X, Spooky Swap, Spirit Swap, Equalizer, even some smaller ones like the Granary from Byte Masons. That also means Reaper Finance, Reaper.farm rather, Panic.finance, and just some of the others that are out there. Pardon me. Your position on Fantom is going to be an NFT that you have to claim is going to be done by PaintSwap, the venerable NFT marketplace on Fantom. So what's interesting about that is they've talked about the ability to interact with that NFT. So this could be good for those who want to possibly, well, let me just put it this way. Do not be shocked if you see protocols allowing you to collateralize your NFT and borrow against it. That would not be shocking to me at all. So, if you want to wait the 270, feel free to. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of things you'll be able to do alongside that. I'm not going to say Pendle is going to come in there and fly in and have PTs against these NFTs, but stranger things have happened. The other part that also passed is the booming and building for the long run. This is part of creating a Sonic Labs Innovator Fund of 200 million FTM. That's roughly about $100 million. Yeah, at current rate. It's going to help with bringing more people into Fantom to build. It's going to innovate with incentivizing developers. And the other part that they snuck in here is an inflation burn that's going to happen every year. So basically, they're going to mint a specific amount of tokens, and any tokens that don't get used from the mint for some of these things will be burnt. They voted for a 1.5% inflation target that Fantom can actually speed up or increase to help with capital efficiency. So that was kind of snuck in on the back end of that, but really interesting to see that. I'll put this in the show notes, but what we were going to talk about for Alpha today was specifically about Pointenomics. And Paul had some really good things he wanted to bring up on this, because there are a lot of protocols that are building specifically on top of points, right? Ultimately, you get a lot of good things with having points in your system. The easiest one, of course, I'd probably say here is, let's be honest. In today's meta, where we're looking at points, and I can pull up whales.market as a great example of this, right? And if you've never been to Whales Market, it's an OTC pre-trading market for a variety of things. Airdrop tokens, points, NFTs. But as you can see, for things that haven't been released yet, there's already a market for this type of stuff to speculate on. In any case, it provides a stickiness where we're being farmed with our time and our liquidity to, produce a little bit of a relationship between you and the target. In essence, points are nothing but the new type of airdrop, right? They're the new type of glorified pre-sale. It allows you to get people into and test out your product before it goes fully live. And fully live is a specific, I guess, questionable term in this case. And multiple protocols have had point programs. You see this, with things like MarginFi, Camino, Parcel, Eigenlayer, and some of them came through, right? Some of them were really good point programs, but a lot of them, honestly, not very good. They were what we call burger drops, because you could probably just get a hamburger with the amount that you got. But in essence, they benefit the protocol, right? Because the team is going to get the TVL, they're going to get the fees, they're farming us for engagement as well as for marketing. That's really what this is about, and you're okay with that because that's why you're here. You're here to be incentivized to lease your liquidity to make money for everybody, essentially. But yeah, that's where points can be helpful. Points are going to be the future of what happens, honestly, because these points are also going to determine airdrops. They're going to determine additional incentives. The more that they just show engagement, right? The more interactive you are with a protocol based on points, the more incentives they will dangle in front of you to continue to keep your liquidity there, earning everyone fees, both you and the protocol. So don't be shocked if you continuously see more points. Embrace the fact that you're getting farmed, I guess is really the point. Could be worse. You could be doing galaxy quests. And when I mean galaxy, I'm talking about the campaign where you link your Twitter and, do a retweet and link 5 friends and possibly earn enough points to get, allow listed into some type of incentive. This is no different. It's just a different way to go about it. So We're just about to the hour. I want to thank Paul from ElkNet and Elk Finance and Project Ralph for being on the panel today. I know he's had some technical difficulties, but I will do a couple of questions for our call for help section. A couple questions we get often that I do want to answer real quick. The first one is, do I need any specific equipment or computers? I know I answered this last week, but I did want to, because it is the specific equipment or computers portion, I did want to speak to that, because all you really do need is a web browser, but it's specific, right? It depends on what you're using. Tablets, probably not the best. Like you can, I'm not gonna say you can't, right? But we don't normally recommend that you use mobile devices for DeFi, whether that be on a tablet, whether that be on a phone, that type of thing. And when you're looking at computers, you want to make sure that you're using something that has plenty of memory, plenty of RAM, the ability to handle multiple tabs open. Like if you're doing research, if you're using multiple browsers, some that are more memory hungry than others. I think a typical gaming computer is way overkill. I think if you're doing a Windows computer, anything between like $300 and $800, probably the sweet spot there. If you're doing a Mac, anything that has native Apple Silicon should be fine. As long as it's receiving updates, it's all that matters. I tell people all the time that you can get an M1 MacBook Air for $649 at Walmart right now. That's a perfect computer to use because it gives you just about the best of everything. May not be the most performant at times, but you know, it's plenty. If you're on the Windows side, just as long as you don't, you can use certain Chromebooks. The problem is with Chromebooks is because they use Chrome as the base. Installing another browser, like we recommend Brave browser here at TVL and with our mastermind, you can't install that without doing a lot of kind of movement around. So what you'll need to do is create another user with a different profile, and then you can go in there and possibly use that. So that is an option. I'm not gonna say that it's not, but that's the thing that you're just gonna need to mitigate the risk by compartmentalizing everything into its own little thing, which is something we recommend that you do anyway. The other question we have is Coinbase a good app? It's what we recommend for our tier 1 CEXs. If you're outside of the US, you have Binance as a choice, but I still think Coinbase is still the better choice overall. It's what we recommend when people go through our free trainings and through our free material at TVL. And yeah, it's fast. They're the caretakers of the base blockchain, so they will have plenty of incentives to make it easy to get into DeFi. If you have a ledger, which is our second recommendation before Trezor. Trezor is what we recommend first for a hardware wallet. Ledger Live can be linked directly to your Coinbase account, so that is a good thing. So you can actually purchase crypto very easily using Coinbase, as long as you have an account there. So that is the recommendation that we have for our CEX. But yeah, just that's our questions. Again, that's our call for help section. If you want to submit a question for us to answer, to go into, feel free to do so. One thing you just have to do is to join our free group, school.com/beacon, learn from the best in the business on how to become a pro DeFi investor. And again, it's completely free. Come join the hundreds of others. We're on our way to 1,000 users, which is amazing. Hundreds of people who are daily active users. Thank you guys so much for being part of our great community of people who are looking to beat the banks and end the rat race. Take back your freedom in this world of self-custody. That's it. That's all we have for you today. Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you next week with another panel here on Beacon TVL. Let me get back to my face here so you can remember that face. Remember, school.com/beacon. Join us for free. And we'll see you next Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern at your local place here. Beacons up. Banks down. See you guys later. Have a great day.